some of you may have some questions about the calculations that you're going to have to perform in doing this particular activity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and walk through a sample calculation all the way to the end. And so if you've already collected your data, the first part of this you don't necessarily have to watch. But if you have not collected your data, there is a video linked here that will be using to finish calculating or getting data for calculations. So there is a YouTube video that I've uploaded entitled Vehicle 1, and we're going to play it. And while we play it, I'm going to use the stopwatch on my phone to get the actual time it took to travel from the clump of trees to the speed limit sign. So here's the video. I'm going to play it right now.
Start.
And that's the no parking sign, and here's the stop sign.
Stop.
Okay. So at this point, I'm going to go in and put that data in. So the first thing, my stopwatch, or the time I collected, was 12.65 seconds. And so I'm going to put a description here of the white pickup truck. And so now I have my distance in feet and the time in seconds to 2 decimal places. So the next part of this lab that we have to complete is we are asked to convert our distance from feet into miles. So down here, what I've set up is it's basically a table, but I took away all the lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to input my data from this spot right here, which was the distance that the car traveled, which was 427.61 feet. And then I'm just going to arrow over, and I'm going to set up the appropriate conversion factor. And since, I forgot to put units, and that's something that's not okay. So feet. Okay, so when I'm doing this conversion factor, I need to have this next fraction set up so that feet is on the bottom, so that I can cancel out feet and be left with miles. So that tells me I'm going to put 1 mile on top. And then I'm going to put 5,280 feet on the bottom. And when I plug that into my calculator, which is 427.61 feet times 1 divided by 5,280 feet, I get a value, and I want this to go to 3 decimal places. So I get a value of 0.081, and that's going to be miles. So that was the first calculation that I had to complete. So then going down to the next page, I am supposed to take each of my times and convert them from seconds into hours. So up on top, I looked at the time for the white pickup truck was 12.65 seconds. So I'm going to put that here. And then I'm going to take that 12.65 seconds and I'm going to put it into this dimensional analysis problem. And I see up above that the relationship between minutes and seconds is that 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. And I want to set this next fraction up so that seconds cancels out. So I'm going to put my 60 seconds on the bottom. And since I'm trying to go from seconds to minutes and then minutes to hours, I'm going to put 1 minute on top. I now see that the relationship between minutes and hours is 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour. And since I need to get rid of minutes, I'm going to put minutes on the bottom. And then I'm going to put hours on top, like so. So when I plug this into my calculator, I'm going to take 12.65 times 1 and get an answer. And then I'm going to divide it by 60 and divide it by 60 again. And so 12.65 times 1 times 1 divided by 60, divided by 60. And the problem tells me, or the lab tells me, that I need to report this into into 4 decimal places. So that's going to be 0.0035, and that's going to be hours. Oops, I don't need that, just hours. Okay. So now I have my time in hours and the distance in miles, and they should be tiny, like in the big picture, because it really didn't go very far and it really didn't take very long to do so. So now I can go down below and I can substitute those in and solve for the velocity that the car was traveling. So if we know that the time from up above is 0.0035 hours, and the distance was 0.081 miles, all I'm going to do is take 0.081 divided by 0.0035, and I get a velocity of 23, I don't know, let's say 0.1 miles per hour. So then the question is, was this particular individual speeding? And where I did my lab, the speed limit sign was 25 miles an hour, so the answer is no. And those are the calculations that you have to do for the data that you collect. Once you've done that for all 4 of your vehicles, you then are going to have a few questions that you have to answer down below. So here we have our velocity formula, where V is solving for velocity, our distance formula, where D is displacement or distance, and our time formula, where we're solving for time by dividing the distance, displacement over velocity. So you've got 2 pretty simple questions to answer here. The first one says, how long would it take the fastest car you observed to travel all the way out to Waukesha? And then we tell you that Waukesha is 15 miles away from Greendale. So it's asking for how long. So it's usually an indication that we're solving for time. In number 7, it says the slowest car you observed drove for 3.5 hours at the same velocity. What will its displacement or distance be? So we're trying to figure out how far it would travel in 3.5 hours. So that's probably a good indication that it might be a distance problem. And then you're supposed to use the velocity of the first car you observed in meters per second and convert the distance between the two points, first of all. So what you need to do here is set this problem up so that you have feet on the top and feet on the bottom and meters on the top. And so if I was setting this problem up, I would have I forgot, it was 427.61 feet. 427.61 feet. And then I'm going to set this problem up so that I'm going to get feet on the bottom and meters on the top. And I'm going to fill my numbers in appropriately. Then I'm going to calculate and get my answer, which would be in meters. And since I already know the velocity, since I already know this, the time in seconds, I don't have to do any converting. But now I'm just going to do a simple velocity calculation and figure out the velocity in meters per second and compare it to the first car. So I think that this should help you in terms of being able to get through your lab collection data. If you still have any questions, please get a hold of Mr. Lash or Mr. Geiger or myself, and we will help get you through it.